Dan, Dan's up again. He says, "Do you get any flack from people who call your GMB company and a different company answers?" Yeah, that's yes, Dan, absolutely, and that's part of what I was talking about at PoFu Live when I mentioned when I build lead gen assets, I use a pseudo name, right, like a kind of a generic business name until I get it monetized. And then once I've developed a relationship with that service provider, whoever's leasing the site from me or the property, the asset from me, or if they're buying leads on a pay per lead basis, whatever the case may be, once I've developed a good working relationship with them and they've proven themselves to be able to pay and pay on time and that kind of stuff, which usually for me is just two months, right? As long as they've paid me consistently for 2 months and I feel like there's good communication with them, then I'm willing to rebrand my GMB assets for them, which is part of the reason why I don't recommend pushing citations or building citations for lead gen assets until you have a service provider in place. Now, if you're in a competitive area, you may need the citations just to get results to begin with so that you can monetize it. And if that's the case, then what you can do is instead of rebranding the actual GMB listing, like so the name of the GMB profile, you can rebrand by adding graphics and images to the GMB website, the GMB profile header. Like you can add the company's, the service provider's logo instead of some generic logo, right? So that even though the company name still shows up as whatever your generic name was, all of the branding on the the GMB properties, assets are all going to be the branding of the other company. Okay. And then also if you, for example, like I run all my calls through a call center. So whenever I get a service provider in place, even if I haven't rebranded the GMB yet, I still have my answering service answer with that company, the service provider's company name. So so it's not as confusing. However, there is absolutely, especially even in that first 2 months that I was just mentioning, where I might generate a lead for a tree service for my tree service lead gen asset, and then a different tree service company shows up at the customer's location to give the estimate. And so when that question occurs, which it does, and I've had to answer that a lot. In fact, before I came up with a good answer for that, I used to get the tree service contractors would call me all the time, be like, what do I say when somebody says, like, I didn't call, Joe's tree service, I called, Culpeper tree service. So what do I say? And I didn't really have a good answer for a long time until I realized, just be honest. And that's what I keep trying to tell you guys, like, just be honest, because then you don't have to worry about covering up like lie after lie after lie. And so when I've told my tree service contractors, like, listen, if somebody asks, just tell them, hey, that's a lead generation website that I didn't own. I'm actually buying the leads, or I'm leasing the asset, or I'm leasing the property from a marketing company. That's all they say. Just say, yeah, I'm the one servicing those leads. And that's it. And that solved the problem. So again, just be honest. And then, like I said, if you can't avoid it, avoid citations until you have a service provider in place. And then if you're comfortable rebranding for that service provider, then you can start building citations. Granted, if the relationship goes south at some point and you end up losing that service provider, or they lose you, one or the other, right? Then you will have some citation cleanup work to do. Because if you've rebranded it, now you're going to want to rebrand it back to whatever the original pseudo name was, or to the next service provider's name. So you will absolutely have to do citation cleanup. But that's why I recommend not rebranding until you've established what you feel to be a good working relationship. Okay. Because again, I've got tree service contractors that have been renting sites from me for years now, for many years now. And so there's no reason, like, I'm not going to mention it here. My mastermind members would know, but my best tree service contractor, I've got dozens, well over a dozen sites for him now. And I just build them branded for him now. They're my assets, but I build them right out of the gate branded for him, which, by the way, that's one of the best things about this model, guys, is once you find a service provider that will lease your assets or will buy your leads, then you typically, they're not like, if you say, hey, I want to build another 10 locations for you, are you interested? They're usually not going to say, no, I don't want them. Like, I don't want any more leads coming into my business. So no, thank you. That's very rare that you're going to hear that. So once you have a service provider in place, always do what I call shake the bushes, right? Shake the bushes mean you contact your existing customer base or client base or service provider base and pitch them on expanding, right? Say, look, I'm going to go out and build 5 more assets for you. would you be interested? And they say, yeah. Don't even pitch them on, like, it depends on how your relationship is. If it's a client relationship, you're going to charge them for the build. But if it's a lead gen relationship, then you're going to go out and at your expense and build all the assets, right? And then then you just sell them the leads or lease them the properties once those assets are built. And again, since they're not putting upfront money, they're not doing an investment, they don't have to wait for the properties to start producing, any of that. They only start paying for them when they're already producing. One of your best ways to scale your business, guys, is to start asking your existing clients and or service provider, even if you're doing client work, instead of just generating leads for a company, if you have clients, guys, pitch them on this service. Go to your clients and say, look, right now, there's great opportunity for me to expand your footprint with Google Maps listings. Would you be interested if I built these out? For example, I'm going to say I've got a pest control, an outdoor pest control company that does mosquito and tick control services in the Northern Virginia area. And I've pitched them for years on, I'm not kidding, they've been a client of mine for going on 5 years now, and I've pitched them every year on expanding their footprint with additional maps listings. But I've always pitched them as, I'm going to charge you $500 for optimization of each listing and $350 per month per additional location. And they've always turned me down. Every single year they've turned me down when I pitched them on that. Well, this year I pitched them on, hey, listen, guys, since you've never taken me up on this, I just sent them this email a couple days ago. I'm not kidding. I'm still waiting on a reply. But I sent them an email, said, look, since you guys have turned me down on this offer to expand your footprint, and right now I'm telling you there's more opportunity in maps marketing than I've ever seen in my entire career. I'm willing to go out and build the assets for you. And once they're producing leads, I'll give you the option to rent them from me, to lease the assets from me. If you're not interested, that's fine. I'll monetize them another way. Now, what kind of a business owner is going to say no when you're telling them that you're going to go into their service area and you're going to build a bunch of competing assets that you're going to give them the option to rent or lease from you? And if they choose not to, then you're going to monetize them another way, which means what? You're going to find a competitor to lease them to, or you're going to find like a pay-per-call exchange network or something to direct the leads to, right? So again, now you're creating that issue with that client in that client's mind of, oh, now wait a minute, I've turned him down, like with my pest control company, they've turned me down for 4 years on expanding their maps presence. And so now I'm saying, okay, you know what? I'm just going to go into your service area and expand maps presences for outdoor pest control, mosquito and tick control services. And then I'm going to give you the option to rent them from me and secure those leads if you want. And if you don't, that's fine. I'll monetize them another way, which means I'll find another damn company that is interested in them, or I'll monetize them through a pay-per-call exchange network. Either way, right? So that's a great question. But like I said, those are the kind of things that you'll find in the lead gen business. But right now is a great opportunity to do that.